Yep.
Is that
Nope, you're good.
Yeah, no, it looks great.
We're live.
And we are live. So welcome everybody to Does It Resonate With You? An episode I'm excited for because we've got our friend Lisa back. Lisa Hagenbuch, Future Echo Astrology. Many of you know I have Bentley the dog and he has just come in, so I'm going to shut the door in just a second. But we are going to talk about the eclipses and I'm really excited to do that. So this is what I'm going to ask before I close the door real quick is, Lisa, are the eclipses out to get us? Are they really out to get us? You know, you hear people say all the time, Coventina made it. Hi, Coventina. Nice to see you. You hear people all the time saying, oh, my life this week was terrible. And there's an eclipse coming up. Like, are they really out to get us? Or is there a way to leverage the energy of the eclipse and make it work for you instead of against you?
They are not out to get us.
Thank you. Now let me close my door and I'll be right back.
Next question, please. My question is there any difference besides visually of being in the path of the eclipse or not in the path of the eclipse?
That's a good question. I'm actually, for the first time, going to be in the path of the solar eclipse. So cool. I've never experienced that before. I'm excited to be in the energy. It probably just, maybe, I don't know, maybe your energy field, it amplifies it in your body. I don't know. That's a good question.
Yep.
I don't know.
You'll know after a couple of weeks, right?
I will know after a couple of weeks. Yeah, exactly. So
it's going to hit southern Illinois again, right? It's not going to be too terribly visible up here. Is that
no, from what I understand, it's Carbondale. So I'm going out to New York to see it.
Oh, wow.
Super thrilled because I'm going to be going on the way back right through Lilydale, which I've never been to.
Oh, that's my favorite place.
So I'm super excited to do that.
Lucky you, man.
Yeah.
We're going to have you back on and just have you talk about that.
Yeah. I know it's off season
my favorite place in the world.
Oh, I'm so excited. Have you been?
I have not. I read there's a book called Lilydale, which I read and then read again because I just loved it.
Yeah, I'll have to read that. I know it's off season, but I'm hoping.
Highly recommended.
Yeah. And from what I understand, what I've heard from people, though, is if you're going to jump in the car and go down to, I think it's Carbondale in Illinois, where you can see it, you may want to get a hotel room because from what I understand, the traffic coming back is about, could be, somebody said they took like 14 hours to get home once. And so you better have enough gas and snacks for kids that are in the car. So, so I'll let you know but I know the eclipses
are so
out to get us.
So, for people who are where I am, though totality will not be visible in the Chicago area, the upcoming solar eclipse will provide an estimated 95% coverage of the sun, coming pretty close to the full experience.
Yep. That's good.
Yeah, they say the sun is at like the height of the sun's activity, so it's going to be really powerful, which is great.
All right, let me tell you my eclipse story real quick.
Okay.
I went out to Nebraska to see the last one. I think that was in 2018 or so, 2018 or 2019.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So the business group that I'm with, they had a seminar there, and it was actually at a place called Camp Solaris, which is a great name for a place to go. And the idea was during the 2 or 3 days surrounding the eclipse, we were going to attend kind of really interesting, quirky business type think tank sorts of events, which were awesome. It's in Nebraska, one of the sunniest states we have. And I'm from Michigan, Grand Rapids, one of the cloudiest cities in the U.S. And we got there and it was ready for the eclipse and it clouded over and I couldn't see it.
Oh
man.
What a bummer.
How rude.
Yeah.
I figure, well, that's kind of being Grand Rapids everywhere. So I felt right at home.
Oh, that's too bad.
It is.
Well, at least you didn't have to go far, right? Because you were living there or no?
Well, no, we drove out there for the conference in order to see the eclipse. So the whole trip was, I don't know, maybe an 18-hour car ride,
Oh,
which we
boy.
did in 2 days. We did like 9 and 9 or something, but
Yeah.
it was a brutal car ride, and it was all for naught.
Oh man.
Although when the eclipse did happen, even though it was cloudy, the whole area got kind of dark and foggy for a few minutes, and then, you know, of course, turned light again. So you experienced the darkness, but just not the visual.
Did the animals do? They say the animals will kind of start
Yep,
acting.
they did.
Yeah.
All the birds went completely quiet. Even the insects
Mm-hmm.
went, like there were bees buzzing, and they just kind of stopped. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
that's weird. Yeah, so it was pretty it was, yeah, uncanny.
Yeah. Well, I know. I think you can see it in Indiana.
Yeah, that if you just Google it, you can see kind of that
the path.
stripe that goes through the United States. So it cuts through southern Illinois, but I'm glad it doesn't go up into Michigan though.
Nope.
So
No.
that's
So
I mean, it'll be interesting to see what it looks like here. I can't. I remember one solar eclipse. It was in the 90s, and I was working at Service Merchandise, and we were all silly with our little boxes. We made these little boxes so we could go out and see them. But I remember the strangest thing was, I mean, because it got dark, which was a little eerie. Not like dark, but like everything was in shadow, which basically it was. But in that area in shop, Lisa, you've probably seen these buildings. So Service Merchandise was on Meacham and Plum Grove.
Mm-hmm.
And there were these really tall, like office buildings that had like gold mirrored windows.
Yeah.
They were mirrored windows.
mhm.
And it was the strangest thing because they always were mirrored, so it always reflected the sun. Whenever you looked at them, you couldn't see inside. But when the eclipse happened, you could see straight into the whole build. It was the weirdest thing. It was like, oh look, you could see the people moving, walking around, and
sure.
I was like, wow, this is just ethereal almost, right?
Yeah.
It was ethereal. So I'm excited to see what it looks like now. But to be honest, it doesn't matter if you can see it or you can't. I think you can still leverage the energy.
You can still.
What does the eclipse mean? How does it work for us? What do we need to do to maneuver? What kind of a heads up do we get? There are ways to still use the energy. I mean, I've done moon meditations, live moon meditations, and I'm sure there's some listeners that have probably participated in them where we couldn't see the moon at all, but you darn well knew it was in the middle of the room, because we brought the energy of it in. So I know that can happen. So what is that? So we have a solar eclipse coming up in April. Is there a lunar eclipse coming up as well?
Yes. So the lunar eclipse is March 25th.
Oh, that's even like in 5 days or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
are they usually really that close together?
Yeah, so there's typically 2 in the spring and 2 in the fall.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's cool.
So, yeah.
So it's just what degree?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So you have the eclipse, but it's not even really the degree. It's like, where is it visible? Right?
Well,
like it's full somewhere. Is that right?
Right, in terms of what you can visually see, is that what you mean?
Right. Yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, so it might be another country. It could be in the other hemisphere.
In the ocean.
Right. That's true.
Oh, I'll never see it if it's in the ocean. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. So, well, back to your original question, they're not out to get us, but they really are calling us to be more conscious.
I can see that.
Because
I can see that. But they're not causing things to happen to us.
They're influencing, but they're not causing. So I heard it described once this way, and I thought it was really interesting. It's basically they're lining up in a certain configuration: the sun, the moon, and the earth. So in a sense, because of the way it's like a shadow dance in a way, but the way that they're lining up is they're kind of in a conversation that you may or may not be a part of. And so
That sounds familiar.
there are, they
Yeah,
tend
right.
to, like, lunar eclipses tend to take away something that we no longer need or want in our lives, and solar eclipses tend to bring something to us. So,
Oh, interesting.
yeah, so that's kind of
Mhm.
the general, that's the general vibe of the lunar eclipse is there, it's about, because a lunar eclipse is, every lunar eclipse is a full moon, but not every full moon is a lunar eclipse because they have to line up exactly, in terms of
Right.
shadow
Yep.
Right.
and
Right.
that.
Interesting.
So what we typically do on a lunar eclipse is we typically release back to the moon, to the universe, light and love, what isn't really serving us anymore.
Right. And we do that on full moons anyway.
We do
Mhm.
that on
So
full
this is
moon,
like amplified.
so it's amplified. Yes, exactly.
Okay, that's cool,
Yeah.
right? Like that's a really good way to look at it.
Yeah.
And a really like, okay, so the energy worker in my head, I have
Hmm.
the tax guy and I got the energy worker. Like the energy worker in my head is walking around seeing all kind of, like crystal situations you could do with that, or I mean,
Absolutely.
there's a lot of ways that you could. It depends on your connection, and
Yeah.
it depends on what are the tools in your toolbox. Is it ritual? Is it a spell? Is it are you more of a channeler? Are you write and release?
Mhm.
I heard about this really cool stuff now. I did not know this existed. Water soluble paper.
Yeah, we do
Mm.
that. I do new and full moon ceremonies every month in Long Grove, and we use the water soluble paper for the new moons where we release
Yeah, I mean,
the water.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
yeah, but I mean, so that would be for setting intentions, but
yeah,
for release, water soluble paper for release on the
yeah,
night of the full moon and the eclipse, using the lunar energy, because the lunar energy of the full moon affects the water. Then
absolutely.
you put either black tourmaline or rose quartz transmutation or love in the water. Oh man, like
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah. And the
That's
now
what I'm
more,
you got
using
to
for
see a
tax
little of the
plans.
process, right? You got to see a little bit of how it ping, ping, ping.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and you can either that's a beautiful way to do it, or you can write your intentions on a piece of paper and burn them. It's
I mean,
another.
you could do so many
You can do
things.
so many
Mhm.
things. And we talked about this, I think, the last time I was on, about working with the lunar phases more intentionally.
Right.
Yeah.
You
Right. That was
get
kind of
more
our
into
thing for
the,
this year.
yeah, exactly. And exactly right, because you guys are doing that. So,
Well, or we were anyway.
oh,
Well, we just haven't been talking about it.
Yeah. I mean, it's,
I'm still doing it.
this
So,
is a really hard time for me. We all know that,
right.
to
Tax time.
focus on anything. And I'm taking another class. I have another one that I haven't started yet that is all about the Akashic record and business,
ooh,
Cool.
which is going to be interesting. So, I mean, it's just, trying to just mindfully set intentions at the right time of the month, so to speak,
mm-hmm,
is what I can manage right now.
mm-hmm,
Yep.
So I'm good with that.
yeah.
Lisa, I have a question about are there any rituals or practices that are common or that you recommend for the energy of a lunar eclipse or a solar eclipse, I mean.
Yeah, solar eclipse. I'd like to hear that.
Oh, so okay,
I mean, I
so
love that the solar eclipse is so close to the equinox, right? Like,
yeah, yeah, well, then the lunar eclipse is really close to the equinox, which was just yesterday or the 19th.
yeah,
So
right, exactly. Just this like overnight or
Right.
something.
exactly. So so what we typically do on so every solar eclipse is a new moon, but not every new moon is a solar eclipse. So on a new moon is when you typically set your intentions, and and really on an eclipse you're going to want to go big, play big, go big or go home, and just set the intentions for what you really want to draw into your life. because the sun has a lot to do with our willpower, what we desire to create and manifest in the world. It has a lot to do with work. And so, whereas on the lunar is like usually time when you release, but I don't like to be so, hard and fast with it, because the more you work with the lunar phases, you're going to get in the flow, and you're going to know when you need to set intentions, and you're going to know when you need to release.
Yeah.
So, you can charge your crystals. You can put out what we do particularly for lunar eclipses is I put water out, and then I put them in little blue bottles and give them to people that come to the ceremonies.
Cool.
So that you can add that to, you can add a couple of drops of water to, like a glass of water.
Oh, man. I put out a quart mason jar on the full moon of filtered water and then drink it.
Fun. That's awesome. Fun. Yeah. So,
the value of those little blue bottles on altars and in crystal grids and all that. That's really cool.
They're cute.
Or just a few. Yeah, cute too. Actually, though, it strikes me that as we speak of the solar eclipse, go big or go home, that gives you the opportunity to brush some pretty broad strokes. When we tell people, when we talk about manifesting, we talk about being clear, understanding what you want, dialing in so you can take aligned action and all of those things. But it seems to me like the solar eclipse is a time to say, I want general financial wellness in my life, and I would like to live a healthy lifestyle, and I would like my home to be my sanctuary. So setting like the tone more than dialing into the little actions that it's going to take, and then those broad strokes support everything else that you do in all of the rest of the moon work. I like that. I like the idea of that a lot.
And so let's drill down a little bit more, because these eclipses are in the sign of Libra and Aries. So we're full on in the Libra Aries axis. So that's
my sun and my rising.
Yep.
What does that mean?
Well, that's the relationship axis. So Aries energy is all about self-orientation, self-directed activity, learning to rely upon self, focusing in on self, doing your internal work. Libra is about your relationship with others, specifically marriage, business partnerships.
Nope.
So, but I extrapolate this out, because I think we're in a relationship to everything in our life. We have a relationship to work, we have a relationship to our health, we have a relationship to our pets, our friends, everything.
Our
surroundings. Yep. So this is a lot about getting in right relationship with everything in your life. And the lunar one is 5 degrees of Libra, and the solar eclipse is 19 degrees of Aries. So what you're going to want to do, you have that somewhere in your birth chart. So the way you really leverage the energy is you pull out your birth chart and you say, okay, where does 5 degrees Libra fall in my birth chart? So it falls in a life area or a house. We call them astrological houses, but it falls in that life area. So that is an area where you can set your intentions more concretely, if you will.
Right.
And so what I do when I plug this in is I look at the degree in the sign, I put it in the chart, and I go 5 degrees either side of it.
Sure.
Either right next to it, opposite, or 90 degrees apart from it. And so if you have planets in those degrees, then you're going to want to kind of incorporate that into your intentions. And that's how you really leverage the energy. Because if you're trying to focus, say, on, joint finances, and it's in the 6th house of your health and conditions, and they want you to work, it's like you want to leverage and work with the energies where they are in your birth chart, because I drew, I cast a chart for the eclipse here in Chicago, so I can talk about the collective energies of what those of us that live in this area are going to be experiencing.
I'd like to hear that.
Okay, yeah, and I'll talk about that in a minute. I just want to say, so everybody is going to, the collective energies are going to be pretty common, no matter where you live. But when you plug it into the city that you live in, then you kind of know how this chart is interacting, the collective energies with each other, because they're going to be hitting some angles, which are going to change depending on the location you're at.
Okay.
Okay. So what I would say about this one is very interesting. So because in the full moon eclipse, the sun and the moon are always directly opposite each other in the same degree, but just a polar opposite sign. So that's why we have really this relationship axis. So the energy of Pluto, my favorite, is in a really positive conversation with the sun and the moon. It's in a trine to the moon, it's in a sextile to the sun. Now, Pluto's going into Aquarius. We're entering the age of Aquarius astrologically. So, these transformations that the eclipses bring about, because they are kind of harbinger of change. We humans, we get really stuck and not necessarily wanting to change our patterns. And the eclipse comes along and it's like, well, if you're not going to consciously do it, we might present some opportunities for you to do it that you feel are coming from the outside.
A gentle kick in the behind.
A gentle kick in the behind. But Pluto is in a luck aspect to the moon and an opportunity aspect to the sun. So it's saying that these transformations are really going to be positive for you. They might not necessarily always be comfortable, depending, I'm somebody that, Pluto goes through my sun. I'm excited because I want to dive in and change and grow and evolve and get out of here personally. But, not everybody feels that way. Right. So, one of the things about this eclipse is that it's bringing up some old wounds from the past in terms of your emotional patterns that are ready to be released. It's kind of said a couple, I won't get into all of the astrologies of it, but it's said several different ways of that. So it's really a time to go, okay, what about my relationship patterns is really outdated? And what do I consciously want to release so that I can make space for new patterns to come in? And a lot of it is we need to kind of look at our illusions about things.
Oh, she's back. Lisa, we lost your sound.
I don't know if she can hear us even. We can't hear you. We can't hear you. We can't hear you. I don't know.
Nope.
Is it Mercury retrograde or something? I'm just kidding. No, she's not muted.
Oh no, I think her phone went to sleep.
Okay. No, Can you hear me now?
Yes, you're good now.
Yeah.
Sorry, I got an incoming call and
sorry. That'll do it. Yep.
That'll do it. Okay. So where did I leave off? Did you hear me talk about the Chiron and the old wound?
No. So just before that.
Okay. So one of the things I would say about this is because the full moon is usually a time when we're releasing, and the moon has a lot to do with our emotions. So this specific eclipse, I could build the argument several different ways that there's old emotional patterns, things from maybe past life experiences, if you believe in that are coming up for review, and they need to be kind of transformed, letting go of old patterns and creating space for new patterns to come in.
Interesting.
Cool.
So Chiron is where we get into where we feel like we sustained a wound. It's really hard to heal ourselves. It's sitting next to the planet Mercury, which is communication, mental processing, and it's so Mercury and Mars aren't talking to any other planets in the eclipse, so it's more internalized. So it's a time to go within and say, what do I really need to release so that something new can enter my life? It sounded like that resonated with Angie?
Yeah, me
No,
too.
I'm just fascinated how this, I mean, yes, it did, but I'm fascinated with how this actually has already been showing up for me in my work with other people, and what I'm guiding them to do, and this session work that I'm doing with Miranda, which is about going in and cleaning out old deep wounds so they can start to heal from the inside out. And
Healing
I'm
from the
seeing,
inside out is perfect. That's a perfect.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
well said.
because what I've seen as we talk about these kind of wounds, and what I'm running across is that it's like a dog bite. You know how you can get a dog, I mean, you can get a dog bite. Have you ever heard of a dog bite, right? And the dog bite is deep, and if it doesn't heal from the inside out, it heals over the top, and then
Oh,
it can get infected and
yep,
fester underneath.
Oh,
And
yep.
right.
so I am not finding this in every single person I work with, but I'm finding it enough that it makes me believe that part of the reason it's showing up for me is this eclipse and this time, of healing these deep wounds. Like it makes me believe that I'm even more dialed in than I actually think I am. Like, how you can know things by proximity, or how they
Right.
say, if you have a stack of books, you can know things out of the books without
Right.
actually having read them. Thank goodness.
That's where Angie and I differ.
Except for John's book. We're going to read John's book. Yes.
Well,
Thank you.
no, I'm not making any
No,
guarantees. I might listen to it though if it ever comes out on audio. But
well, I'll absolutely do that for sure.
but the point is, for me with books, that's not about work. Reading is for me not about work. It's not about this part of my life. Reading for me is recreation, and it takes me places. So that's what I do when I read. It's not that I don't read, it's that I don't read that kind of stuff. So, but anyway, it doesn't matter. I'm connecting to it anyway.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Perfect.
But I mean, it's really interesting that this is showing up for people in this way.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I mean, 50%, I would say 50% of the people I've worked with in the last, few months.
yeah.
And it's been unbelievable, the things that shift and change like practically instantly when
Yeah.
you get this to clear up. All of a sudden, a family member calls and says, oh, well, no more obligation to that, or, whatever. So it's kind of, it's just fascinating how, as much as anyone wants to think we're not influenced by the planets or the moon or the water or the earth or the energy, we truly are if you just pay attention.
Well, ask any nurse what happens during full moons.
Right.
It just is.
Yeah, and to add to it, for this chart in Chicago, there's a kind of a complex pattern of the way these energies are aligning called a yod pattern, and it's between the two planets of relationship, Venus and Jupiter, and the south node of the moon, which is right up there at the top of the chart. So ways, we've got to clear things out to create space for new patterns to come in. They're going to be fortunate transformations. Some people really love to dive into their transformations, and that's when you
and then you get the people. Then you get the people that you read tarot cards for, and you give them a 5, and you think they're going to fall out of their damn chair and run to the other side of the planet. So some people dive in, other people don't. But what I'm kind of hearing is it's going to happen anyway, so you might as well embrace it.
That is so true. Good dear friend of mine said, you're going to have a Pluto transit at some point. You may as well just dive into it, because and it will bring up these old fears, because structures are going to change. And because the ruler of the moon in Libra is Venus, and Venus is sitting next to Saturn. Saturn is structures, but Saturn is like sometimes can be very fear-based about the structure changing. So they're going to change. You may as well decide what you want the new building to look like, is the way I look at it. And that's the way to leverage it, because really, change is inevitable, change is constant. But they say life is, maybe eclipses are what happen when you're busy making plans. And, it's,
Right.
So there are, and it's even people that do. I know you did that whole. I enjoyed watching that, the prescriptive versus predictive. So
Yep.
even people that really do the predictive, more along the predictive lines in astrology, eclipses are kind of all bets are off. It's hard to really know exactly what will happen. Sometimes there are these big events that happen, but this transformation that's occurring is ultimately for your best and higher purpose, because I believe that the energies are really happening for us, not to us.
Right.
So if the more we can leverage it.
Well, I think the other thing about predictive is that I believe the future is fluid.
Right.
I believe the future is what it is as we sit here in this moment.
Right.
But if we stand up and we make a different choice than we might have, we have the ability to shift the future, which is one of the reasons I don't like to play around. I shouldn't say it like that. One of the reasons, people ask me, well, when is this going to happen? Or will you read for this? Or is my husband having an affair? I don't do that. I just won't do that. Fine. I'm okay with saying, if that's information you seek, that's fine. And you are welcome to it. But I won't.
Right.
That's not me. That's not what I do. But I believe that's why we should embrace these things, these opportunities. We should embrace the fives. We should embrace the tower. We should embrace these things that are heads up and harbingers of change, because we don't always, change is hard for a lot of people. It doesn't come easily. It's not always available to everybody, through situation and circumstance. So if you have something that's going to give you a boost to even create a small shift or change in your life, a small shift in the now can be a huge shift. If you think of perspective or navigation,
right.
3 degrees,
Right.
3 degrees to the north.
You're way off.
Not that much here, but
out there
it can move you really, really far. So
yeah. And oftentimes when I set intentions, a lot of times I'll know where it's, in my chart. And a lot of times I'll say, remove any blocks to the awareness of what I need to do.
That's a nice phrase.
It's just a way to say, I'm just going to get in the flow of, you have to kind of surrender in a sense, and just allow, which is really difficult to do, as a Capricorn. But it's growth for me to do that. And then awareness will drop in if we allow it. So I always say, like, put it on the lunar to-do list or put it on the universal to-do list. I don't know how this is going to work out. Sometimes we just have to do that for it to line up and create the circumstances that are just right for us. So it's just not always about, knowing exactly what to set as an intention. It can be, just bring me awareness, or, you can do bigger platitudes and then just drill down as you see fit. But so this, the lunar eclipse, and we can talk a little bit about the energy of the solar eclipse if you want.
Yeah, I just
one
wanted
question
to
first.
Wait to get a question.
Okay, I just want to make one point before I let it go, before it leaves. I've been presented with the idea of actually detaching from things that you're trying to manifest from time to time, because you're so dialed in and you're so focused on this particular thing that perhaps what is really coming your way is bigger, better, different, or you're just so hyper focused on it, you're getting yourself all worked up and it's not coming your way. So I love the idea that you're saying, these broad strokes, and saying, show me what I need, show me. And then the other thing I wanted to say is, John, you and I have done card readings very much like the gratitude oracle, where we've asked those questions just in a different modality. So, I mean, here's the most important thing, and I'll let you have your question, John, is that I want people to understand you are in control. This is all up to you. The moon, the sun, the eclipse, the tarot, the astrology, the energy is here to assist you. That's part of the universe. And the universe wants to see you succeed, and it wants you to enjoy this human experience. I mean, you came here to hang out, right? And feel your feet on the ground and put your toes in the grass. That's why you're here. You're not here for some mission or to learn some lesson that nobody's told you about. You know what I mean?
Right.
So the idea of just creating these broad strokes and what do I need to know to like maximize my time here, I think is kind of really brilliant. And that, John, would be a great spread.
Yes, it would.
What do I need to know to maximize my time here?
And then pay attention to the signs that show up for you. That's the other part.
Right.
You have to.
Yeah. And
so anyway, okay, so go ahead. I'm done.
All right. So, during Mercury retrogrades, quite often they say, don't, try and avoid contracts during that period. Is there anything we need to avoid during a solar eclipse?
During a solar eclipse.
Yep. Well, other than looking directly at the sun.
Right. Which apparently doesn't kill you. I'm not talking about that, Angie. I'm not talking about that today. If you remember my comment from before. Anyway, just kidding. That's a good question, John. I think you may have stumped me.
Well, I mean,
know.
Back up the truck for 1 second.
Okay.
If in fact nobody signed a contract during any Mercury retrograde, or they continually got screwed over because that's when they did it, all business would grind to a halt in this capitalist country.
That is true.
So there is that.
So
how much of that idea is fear-based?
Exactly.
And because they say, well, to avoid it, carefully, right? Carefully review any contract you're going to sign.
That's a better way to say it. Yes.
Right.
But duh.
Yeah.
Come on now. That's like those diet pills that say in combination with a good diet and exercise, these will help you lose weight. Hello. You don't.
That's how you say placebo.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I mean, if in fact you're around not reviewing contracts before you sign them, then you deserve whatever you get, Mercury retrograde or not.
Absolutely. It's my biggest wish for everybody to just
stop it with that.
Talking about Mercury retrograde. With any retrograde.
Sorry, bad example.
Yeah. Oh no, it's fine because I mean it's just my bugaboo point.
Well, I mean, somebody, I think it was Mooney, who said, instead of really looking at it as problematic, look at it as an opportunity to go back to the things that you've started but couldn't finish, or something that you're working on that's not quite working the way you want it to give you an opportunity to sort of back up the truck a little bit, revisit what it is that you're working on, and maybe make some new choices around that. So I think there was, instead of being afraid of Mercury retrograde, if we would just look at it as though it has value, much like a lunar or solar eclipse, I think it would be an entirely different story.
I do.
And I'm not sure it's got the energy to mess with technology like the moon. I mean, I think the moon is more likely to electronically charge the atmosphere than the Mercury retrograde. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think it's just a lot of this has to do with our beliefs, right?
Truth.
If we believe that everything's going to go haywire during Mercury retrograde, it'll circumstances will show up to prove you right.
Right.
The way you look at
it. That is true because, and this is actually before I even understood how to keep my energy under control. I mean, I used to set off train, what do you call
crossings?
Crossings. I used to set them off. I mean, the street lights would go out when I drove past them. When I would work on my sewing machine, the thing, it would just like screw up for no reason. And then I started with like the hematite rings, and that actually helped with the sewing machine, kind of transmuting the energy. But then when I began to understand keeping my own energy in balance was what I needed to do to keep those things from happening, I realized I was the cause of all this. It was me. It's not Mercury retrograde. It's not the street lamps.
Well,
it's me.
That ties into these eclipses being in Aries Libra. It's like, what can I do in relationship to everything else in my life? And not feel like we're at the mercy of not having the control to take actions we need to take. So that's perfectly said. Yep. It's just any retrograde is just a time to review. It's just a matter of how do you work with the energy. It's not something to be feared or, you know, so, but with the solar eclipse, you know, and I think I'm not one of those hard, fast, you're going to just attract on the solar and release on the lunar, because I think you have to look at what is going on in your personal circumstances.
Yeah, absolutely.
But in general, I think it's a time to really look at what you want to draw into your life, or where you might want to make it more of a exert your will or have an impact on something.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Because the sun and the moon, the core of who you are and your emotional nature, they're right next to each other. And it's go time.
Right. So, it's like it's all about you this time.
Well, yeah, these, the eclipses in Aries Libra actually started April of 2023. So you can kind of go back to that point, and they're going to culminate on actually March 29 of 2025 is the last eclipse in Aries. So, and the last time we had this started at the end of 2013 and ended March of 2016. So you can go back in those phases of your life. So this is a time really to focus on how I am in a relationship to something else and putting it in balance, right relationship, harmony. Fairness can be a concept, with the Libra energy. So it is about, and then when, like Angie was saying, to leverage it, plug it into your chart. I always said that should be my tagline, is plug everything into your chart.
If you have the ability to do that and then understand what it says when you do that, right? Like, not everybody
can hire Lisa.
But yes, true. Yeah. So this is interesting that you say this about this, the last time it happened compared to this time.
Yeah.
2013 was amazing for me. 2013 was an amazing year. 2014 was a great year. 2015 really started to stink. And 2016 was horrible. Horrible. I mean, not even things happening in the country, not even withstanding, right? Like it was rough. And then things got, better, and I was more even and more whatever. But now so that was started out lousy and ended up better. This is 2023 was lousy. 23 was hard.
Yep.
I think a lot of people say that 2023 was hard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And 2024 is a little easier than last year. So I'm hoping that we're looking at a pattern that's going in the other direction, and 2025 is going to be.
Oh, we have a question.
Oh,
awesome. Do you compare the energies with your birth chart or progressed chart?
So both. you can so my other tagline is astrology is a rabbit hole. How far down the rabbit hole
how far do you want to go?
Okay.
So you can do both. That being said, I think everything first goes back to your natal birth chart.
Okay. So do that first.
Do that first. But then you can also, adding in the progressed, how your chart is progressed through like solar arc directions or progressions, that just adds extra information. So it's kind of like, how far do you want to go down?
Right. How many hours do you have right now?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
right.
and I don't live my life by it, so that I'm the first to say that I usually don't even know what's going on in my chart, but I always find it just so fascinating to look at in other people's charts, and it's a great use of astrology to go back and see what was happening the last cycle, because that can inform what can happen.
Okay, but that's actually assuming that people remember.
That's another point. That's another point. So
I mean, 2013 was an auspicious year for me. So I know what happened in 2013, right? Like there was a lot that happened in 2013 that stands out. And so it's easy for me to remember that. But there's a lot of years that I could look at, like you could ask me what was actually going on in May of last year. And I would say, I could say I was ready to kill somebody because of all those tax returns I had to do. But that was one of the reasons that 2023 was so hard, was all that extra work that I had. So,
well, I have a good strategy for you if you are interested.
A lighter.
Get yourself a moon journal and journal.
What makes you think I don't have a moon journal?
Okay, well, I know, right? So
how many journals do I have, John?
None.
No, you know better than that. How many journals do I have? 11, 12. How many pages average are written on?
Oh, right. Yes. The first
3.
page, or maybe the first and second.
Yeah. Journal is, I mean, it makes sense. It's a good plan, but it's not an Angie plan.
It's not an Angie plan.
It's not. I mean, I have one. I bought a brand new one.
You're not a lather, rinse, repeat kind of girl. I know that.
No, I'm definitely not.
Right. Anything I have to do every day just isn't going to get done eventually.
It's hard, right? Like it's hard.
Well, I think just write down a line. Just not make it. We make it. I think it's like too much work. Instead of playing with it. So.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, that's good in theory.
It's good in theory. It's hard to do in practice.
I mean, I tried the gratitude journal for like 3 months once. Ooh, it'll change your life. Yeah, no, it won't. It didn't. And it was not until I understood that I needed to connect to the energy of whatever it was I was grateful for, or nothing was going to happen. So that's how I operate, right?
Right.
Like for some people that worked so well. Right. But that's because they would sit and ruminate and think, and that's not me. I'd be like, I need to hurry up and get this done because I made an agreement with myself to do it. And then I would write it, my breath, I love my husband, and I like my house. Bye. So so
I can see why it didn't work.
Right. I mean, it sounds, so instead I do a gratitude ritual that doesn't involve writing it down. And I actually sit and think about something specific and how it makes me feel, and I connect to the energy. That is my gratitude practice. But sadly, when I'm old or when my kids want to know anything about me, there's nothing. Well, they can watch all the episodes of this show.
Exactly. This is the chronicle of your life.
That's exactly right. This is my journal, Lisa.
This is your journal. I love it, Angie. I love that you're
I think there's actually something to that.
There really is. I mean, we're telling the threads and the stories as we go by, and how our thinking has shifted maybe to some degree. And
I like that.
Yeah, I like it too. I like it a lot. So,
well, folks, you were here. You heard it here first.
Yeah, right. Like you want to. I mean, we're not terribly closed in about telling stories. We have talked about doing an episode where we kind of tell our stories and
little background.
Let people know really what makes us tick. Although I think many people know what makes me tick anyway. But John says I have great stories, so I don't mind sharing them. It would be nice to have them recorded for posterity. Whatever. Anyway, so as always, we've gone over. Which is okay.
It happens.
Right.
It does happen. So you have to promise you'll come back.
Of course I'll come back anytime.
Excellent.
Especially after Lily Dale. So
Oh,
after the
yeah.
Oh
after the
yeah,
Clips
come
and
back
after
after
Lilydale.
Lilydale and tell us.
I
Yep.
will.
You know, that's where Lisa Williams lives, I think, or very near Lilydale.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's like
Cool.
one of her favorite places too.
Nice.
Isn't it Lilydale? Those two sisters, right?
The
Sisters
Fox
or something.
sisters. The like historically or
Yeah,
currently.
historically, like
I think the
I
Fox
just
sisters
remember
were both.
something about two sisters and Lilydale, and maybe I'll see if that book is on Audible.
I'm
Yeah.
sure it
They can
is.
tell me the
It's
story.
really popular and it's quite good.
Yeah, that's cool. They can tell me the story.
Yeah.
I can turn it on while I play a video game.
You can start a new pattern with the Aries energy coming in for the solar eclipse.
What does that mean? Read a book? No. No, actually, I can't read on the Kindle because it hurts my eyes.
Mhm.
And I read when I can read outside in the summer
Mm.
because of the sun, you know.
Mhm.
It's just not that whatever. But anyway, plus I like to read fluff, funny things, because it's my
Escape.
entertainment.
Mhm.
Anyway, all right. So listen,
Thank you,
thank
guys.
you very
Yeah, thanks,
much
Lisa.
for
This
being
is
with us.
wonderful as always.
And Lisa, I'm ever always so grateful for the opportunity to work with you and
Me too.
you know, to see how things unfold and how things are, you know, how things are coming together. So I think that's an amazing opportunity for me. Folks that are listening or maybe listening later, please, we are getting so close to our goal of 100. I think we need 22. So if you could
Yep.
share the show and hit the
Bring in your
subscribe button if
kids,
you
your
haven't
pets,
yet.
your neighbors. Just have
Yep.
everybody subscribe.
Yep. And if you watch on Facebook, because we do live stream to Facebook, you just pop over to YouTube and the channel is called Does It Resonate With You? So that's where you'll find us. Just hit that subscribe button so that I don't know, it just seems like something we really want for right now is to have 100 people, 100
Indeed.
subscribers. So anyway, Lisa, again, thank you so much. John, thank you so much.
Mhm.
As always, you know, this is a high point of my week.
Mhm,
And
me too.
I think today we're on the last two
Yes.
cards for tarot time.
Yes.
So there you go. So have a wonderful day, everybody, and give us a couple of minutes to get ourselves reset, and we'll see you for tarot time. Thanks so much.